Hello again, fellow audiophiles. I am Wave Theory, and this is the Fosi Audio SK01 transportable battery-powered headphone amp and preamp. This is an $80 piece that was sent to me by Fosi Audio for review. They have done nothing to influence my opinion on this piece, so all thoughts you are about to hear are mine and mine alone. I was really pleasantly surprised by this little thing, so I think you're going to want to stick around and check out this video, and it also falls into some fairly interesting use cases, which I think could make it of more interest to some people. All right, they were going to do this video just a little bit differently. I did mostly a quasi-overhead view on this one just because it's small and wanted to be able to show you the build and all of the little features. The link that is in the description for this piece will be an affiliate link, so if you are interested in this and want to check it out, please consider using that affiliate link and I will get a few bucks back. I do use affiliate link money just for channel business, to buy new pieces for review, to cover shipping costs, and to get other support things like microphones, lights, things of that nature. So again, links in the below will be affiliate. All right, let's do shameless self-promotion, and then we'll come back and we'll talk more about the SK01.
Hi, I'm Wave Theory's human companion, and he wants you to know that your support of this YouTube channel helps keep the reviews coming. If you enjoy Wave Theory's honest, thorough style, then make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and check out the links in the description below to sign up for the Patreon or send him a tip through PayPal. All right, enjoy the musings.
Quasi-overhead view again, because this is a smaller piece and I think it's easier to see it this way. So let's look at it here. So it is the SK01 here, again, $80. And to emphasize, this is only an amplifier and preamplifier, a headphone amp and a preamp at that. So there's no DAC in here. All right, so keep that in mind. And it really, I think, is targeted to transportable kind of use because it is battery powered. Like, there is a 2500 milliamp Henry battery in here. There is a USB charging port right there, USB-C. It is not a DAC port. Again, no DAC on this. That is just for charging the internal battery. Okay. So what we see here are some pretty unique features. This knob right here doubles as the volume control and also is the power on off. Like, you hear it click here. Okay, now the potentiometer is, it's an $80 unit. It is a little bit on the cheaper side. There is a slight bit of channel imbalance when you get really low in the volume here. Okay, but up in the normal operating range, it's fine. Okay, then you see 3 tone controls here. All right, we have, treble, mid-range, bass controls here. The ranges on here is the bass knob here can adjust plus to minus 14 decibels. The mid can adjust plus or minus 10 dB, and the treble can adjust plus or minus 12 dB. There's a high and low gain switch here, which I think is a 10 dB adjustment. You can defeat all of the tone controls just by pushing this button in, okay, and having it out there, and you're good. And then there is also a loudness curve that has a maximum increase of 10 dB at 20 hertz and about 6.5 dB according to the graph on Fosi's website, which I will link to down below, right, of about 6.5 dB at 20 kilohertz. Very V-shaped if you use that, but just FYI there. Okay. Headphone outputs here. You have your choice of 1/4 inch / 6.35 millimeter and 3.5 millimeter or 1/8 inch right there. This is only a single-ended amp. These are not balanced connections. All right, and then as I showed you here, you have the charging port for the internal battery here, and then you have 3.5 millimeter TRS jacks for the line out and line in. So when you pick one of these up, if you don't already have one, it's probably smart to get at least one of a cable like this that is 3.5 millimeter TRS single-ended on this end, and then is RCA stereo at the other end. This was a pretty basic cable that I've had for a while. If Amazon still sells this, I will link to it down below, and that will be an affiliate link. All right. You can also get a cable that is one of these at both ends too. So just an, an aux cable, as those are commonly known. All right, to have around, because that could be handy on here as well. All right, power output on this thing is rated at 2400 milliwatts at 32 ohm impedance. I was really quite surprised with how powerful this is. And it will drive some reasonably, not ridiculously, but reasonably challenging loads, which we'll talk about here in just a moment. But otherwise, this thing, it's got nice rubber feet on the bottom too, so it doesn't slide around on your table much at all. It's small enough and rugged enough, like it's built pretty well. It's like this whole thing here is like a solid chunk of metal, and so forth. I mean, it's pretty rugged. So it's small enough and built ruggedly enough that you can basically just toss this in a backpack and off you go. So it's easy to travel with, and just, bring a portable DAC with you, like a little dongle DAC or anything like that, and get yourself an aux cable, plug it into the line-in out input on this thing, and, put your headphones in there, and, nice little transportable travel setup to go, like, at least ergonomically. We'll talk about sound here in just a moment. Okay. But well built, it's got some nice features and all of that. Now, you saw here, there is a line out on it. This is a preamp output, so you will get control of that output with the volume knob here. And then if you have the tone set to go through the knobs here, you can, in fact, do the 3-band EQ, which will go through the line out as well, or you can defeat that by hitting the tone button and just get a flat output at that point. Okay, so that's a nice feature too, although I should note that plugging a headphone in and out does not mute the line out. They are both active all the time. So that's one thing that you may need to be aware of if you plan to use this, okay? So, I mean, as far as use cases go, pretty nifty little device on that there, because, like, yeah, it's got a surprisingly powerful headphone amp in it. It's got your tone controls. It's got preamp outputs, so, I mean, if you needed a little bit of, like, I don't know, if you're a traveling musician, you could, in theory, stick this in line and get a little bit of tone control on there on whatever you're plugging your instrument into, as another possible use case here. All right, so let's transition to sound real quick here. I used 2 DACs really to kind of be the test here. I used the single-ended output of an OG Shit Modius and the single-ended output of an SMSL DO300EX to do the input there, using a cable like this. Okay, just going from the RCA outputs of those to the TRS connection there, and then I plugged an IEM into here to check the noise floor. That would have been my Mangard T. I don't have a V1, Mangard T V1. I'm not really a huge IEM guy. I have a few of them around, but I don't have any like super low impedance, ultra sensitive ones around. But on the Mangard T, the noise floor on this on low gain was virtually absent, so it has didn't hear a whole lot of hiss or anything like that. So that was nice to hear, or not hear, as it were, on that. And then I tried a few different headphones, but the ones that I want to talk about the most are this one. This is the HiFiMan HE400 SE, and then I also want to talk about the Mastrop Sennheiser HD6XX, okay, on this thing. Why these two? Well, because this thing is $80, and I have declared the HE400 SE to be my current recommended entry point into audiophile headphones at $109 US. I think these two are priced such that people might want to use them together. And good news for you, for the most part, this thing has the power to drive the HE400 SE reasonably well, even with a little bit of bass boost. I think I had the bass boost turned to about 2 o'clock. Okay, when I did this test, I played Hans Zimmer's Why So Serious from the Dark Knight film soundtrack. And right around 3.5 minutes in that track is where you get this really low, very powerful, but very active synthesized bass line in there. And I wanted to see if this had the power to drive these. And for the most part, yes, there was a little bit of distortion in the low end, some crackling at very high volumes coming out of here. But at normal listening volumes and also like without the bass boost, it did a pretty good job, like not only of having the bass presence there and the control in the low end, like it just, well, I said control a little early there. It had pretty good control over the low end on this too. So I think for most program material and in most listening cases, this is a not bad amp to be driving the HE400 SE, which is really exciting to be able to say because $80 and $109. All right. The 6XX I got out because it is a 300 ohm headphone, so it's a little bit higher impedance. It also needs some pretty big voltage swings, particularly in the low end, because the resonant frequency of the driver here is around 60, 80 hertz, somewhere in there. And that's where the drivers in here get the most difficult to control, and why a lot of times with an amp that can't do a lot of high voltage swings, the bass on these sounds a little bit anemic. Well, to my pleasant surprise, not so much here. The SK01 here really handled the low end and even the treble on the 6XX pretty well. It's not quite, you know, good OTL tube amp good, not quite as like warm and organic in the timbre and, you know, lifelike through the mids as on that, but for what this is, powered this very reasonably well, and I was quite impressed with how it did it. So there's that. Okay. So with the ability to drive a couple of difficult loads that are priced such that you might be interested in plugging them into an $80 headphone amp and doing that well, let's talk a little bit more about the sound of this thing. And because of the tone controls and the loudness curve here, you get a fair amount of control over what you want it to sound like from a tonality standpoint. If you defeat the tone controls here and just do a pass-through, it is quite neutral. Okay, and so I don't really notice a whole lot of forwardness in the mids and all of that. I was rather impressed with how well controlled the treble is. Like, there's not a ton of sibilance or treble sharpness. Now, there is, like I say, I did plug in the Hi-Fi-Man Ananda Nano into this for a little bit, and at really high volumes on that, there was a little bit of treble harshness to it, which is not uncommon for an amp at this price range. But again, I had to get pretty loud for that, and honestly, it wasn't terrible, so I can't count that as a really truly a negative here for an $80 piece that has tone controls and is transportable. Okay, so I was pretty impressed with that. The soundstage is reasonably big. It's not huge, but it's not bad. Don't expect a lot of depth. I mean, it is a budget entry-level piece, so not a ton of soundstage depth, but it's not entirely absent either. Imaging and separation, I would also put in the category of very good for the price, but not awe-inspiring because again, it's only $80. But it does a pretty good job of like imaging, placing sounds at least laterally in a pretty realistic location. Doesn't do the best job with separation in between those sounds, but again, $80 piece. Okay, it's pretty good for the price. All right, with that, and the resolution, similar story. It's not set the world on fire good, but for an $80 piece that does what it does, I give it thumbs up on that. Room reverbs and ghost notes and all of that stuff come through pretty well. Bottom line here is I was just quite impressed with the performance of this thing, particularly with some harder to drive headphones for the price and given the potential use cases here. Like, this could be a nice little travel companion because like the 6XX here, you can get a reasonably sized case that this thing fits into for not all that much money and make it somewhat travel friendly. Let's see, I think I have one around. Is it within arm's reach? Yes. Is there anything inside of it? No. I forget what this case is. I will look up and see if it is still sold, but just to give you an idea, like cases like this exist out there that are only that big. Okay, I can't quite see it where I have the camera set, but are only about this big, at least in comparison to this unit. and are reasonably travel friendly, and there's enough room inside there to put like your interconnect cables here and a headphone cable for this thing inside there, and probably even a little dongle DAC if you wanted, and you have a nice little travel setup. So yeah, not a whole lot of direct competition to this that I know of, just because it's so unique in what it does, but sonically, I will make the claim that it is at least reasonably competitive with some desktop-based headphone amplifiers that are on the entry level. Like, I would probably take this over at least the original JDS Labs Atom amp. Okay, I think this one has a little bit better treble control, and I mean, it's a more recent model, right? We've had some iterations of doing cheap amps now, and I think most of the market has surpassed that one, which was like really good for its time. And this one is like probably, again, a little bit smoother and a little bit more natural sounding than that, as one example. All right, so there's not a whole lot of reason for me to continue on here. I was very pleasantly surprised and impressed with this little thing. So if you are in need of a small, like, transportable, not on the go, like, but transportable, battery-powered little headphone amp that can handle some somewhat difficult loads to drive, okay, like this, or I'll bring the HE400 SE back. I don't know of a whole lot of other pieces on the market that are doing that right now. So give this Fosi SK01 a look, right? Or a listen, I should say. I mean, and again, it's 80 bucks, not a whole lot of risk involved in it. Okay. I am Wave Theory. This has been my review of the Fosi Audio SK01. Please remember to subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet. Like this video, leave a comment down below. Check out my PayPal and my Patreon, and do all of those things you do to support YouTube channels. And, like, you know, don't hesitate to use my affiliate link if you are intrigued by this and want to check it out. All right, thanks again for watching, and enjoy the music.